Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, this is Eddie Marcus, spokesman and advocate of basic human rights for all people. Got a little wonderful message I want to share with you at this time, and I hope that you got a little bit of time to share, and we will make it worth your while. Today, I want to take a moment and talk about sacrifice. Now, I was motivated to talk about sacrifice, this being what they call Black History Month. Many people call it's a representation of the celebration of white supremacy, but nevertheless, some refer to it as Black History Month. And you think about why, you think about the struggles that black people have had to go through ever since they can remember anything, and still having to go through those same kinds of struggles in a nation that holds itself up as being one of the most righteous nations, one of the most God-fearing nations on the face of the earth. And yet certain things are taking place that started years and long time ago and still going on, and it's an unjust act against certain people. And so we got this young man, a football player, who got his life ahead of him, making money, doing his thing, having a wonderful time on that career that he had chosen. But he recognized that within the system they were playing a national anthem that represented something great, and that so many people of every ethnicity here in this country played a role in the making of this country, whether it's good or bad or in between. And yet these black people were being murdered or killed by cops. And so he saw an injustice in that, and so he decided to draw attention to it. He's one of those guys who made a sacrifice. So he decided to kneel, representative of open a hope that God would intervene and do something to make things better for people, intervene in whatever way necessary, miraculously, or to find some people that would be motivated to do some of the things that would be required to deal with the situation. He made a sacrifice, and he ended up losing his job, but to him it was a job worth losing, a cause worth standing up for, even if it meant losing the job. But here's the real thing about it, ladies and gentlemen. Just think about the other black players on the team. If they had decided to kneel, just think about what it would have been if the white players who recognized that this wasn't unjust and they wanted to stand up for what was right, what was justified, and this was to draw attention to this crazy thing that's happening to black people. Then it ended a lot of this black killing overnight. But they were caught in the trap. They were caught in the trap of making money. And so rather than take a chance on sacrificing anything, they chose the money. And this is representative of so many things that happen today in our lives. But you know, ladies and gentlemen, to know right is to do right. Wherever it leads you, it will never, ever be wrong. Remember that the greatest right is when you are killed for doing right. What you do is flip back to the heavenly side of life. Now, wouldn't it be amazing when in the Garden of Eden all things were good and available to be used for goodness? One rule: listen to your heart and your consciousness. They have been programmed for your benefit. Listen to another and you will surely die. Disobedience to the rule of life gave death, which took the humans to the other side, ruled by the spirit of evil. And that other side is recognized by selfishness, competition, poverty, crime and violence, lying, cheating and stealing, killing and war. All of this trying to avoid the slave side of hell for the benefit of the 1%. That's what's happening in this country, and it happens all over the planet. Wherever governments exist, there's an upper and there's a lower. And the upper is what people strive for, to be upper and not lower. And in order to get upper, there are all kinds of rules you got to deal with. It'll take a smart, genius man, a man who was even dedicated to God, and in time break him down to he'll be the first one in line to get on evil side, just to get up there and to stay away from down here. And they do this because over time they forget. They don't practice the principles, and they forget all about God. Now, this is what happens, ladies and gentlemen. This is what happens. These people are handcuffed for money. Handcuffed for money. The things that I want to share with you now is this. You must, and I know this is going to sound a little crazy to you, but you must be born again. Now this means that you must die to the world of knowledge gained on this side, caused by a yearning to be better, to do better, and doing better by faith in a God of love. You see, the world we live in represents a world hijacked by the spirit of evil. Rather than humans living to benefit one another, it has chosen to live for the benefit of the few. The Spirit offered some the kingdoms of the world for obedience, as they asked Jesus, all of this I'll give to you if you bow to me, said the spirit of evil. Jesus turned his back on him. But there were so many others that were offered, and they did not turn their back on it. They were called kings. They were called pharaohs. They were called Caesars. And they were called emperors and the like. And they all had connection with the divine. Yes, the divine. All had connection with the divine. And under that leadership, they claimed all the resources of this earth as their own. They saw people as being servants to serve them and slaves to work for them. And it is always, listen ladies and gentlemen, it is always the duty of the approved leadership to serve the authorities. How else will this hell continue forever? Presidents lie to get your vote and find some way to benefit the 1%. The organizations, they start out with great intent, but they are harnessed by the 501c3. The religious institutions, they serve as cream on the crop. And they are to keep the people mellow. And yet some are chosen amongst you. They're chosen to receive an undeniable truth of the existence of God. So the slaves in the world of darkness may hope. Hope. At the end of day, equalizer is always there. And that's death. But Jesus and his disciples, and the Baptists and Gandhi and Lincoln and Kennedy and Dr. King and Malcolm X and Medgar Evers and so many others, they sacrificed this side of life for the other side. Now, I know many of you think that people really sacrifice for you. The sacrifice that comes for you is a byproduct. You see, like Kaepernick sacrificed his career. Now, I might sacrifice perhaps violation of a court order for the simple reason that there's something that must be understood. If Kaepernick or myself or anybody else sacrifice hoping that they're going to cause somebody else to wake up and cause a movement or protest just because of your actions or our actions, that would be ludicrous. The act that people that are real commit are because that's what they do. That's what they do. Right is right. And every chance it gets an opportunity to present itself, right will always be right. Wherever it leads you, right is always right. And the only ones that can step forward with that are those who have made the decision. You see, you had the decision once before. And you exercise your will. And you flip the script. And now we're all over here in this world, in America, in Russia, in China, and we're living under oppression. Our dreams are not coming true. We're having all kinds of hell, and the world is going to hell, and the climate, everything seems to be against us. And we're over here because we violated the rules of life. Now, the rules of life have not changed. It means that you must represent life. And in darkness, the light shines. It hides in, the truth shines, and it hides in the light. Which means it can never be hidden. And even here in the midst of this hell, the truth will stand up against all of this which denies the spirit of love. That's what it's all about, ladies and gentlemen. And for those of you who say, well, I'm afraid to die, the truth of the matter is, if you are afraid to die, you really don't deserve to live, because you will never live again until you die. You're going to have to, and I'm not talking about getting in a coffin. Hopefully you can die before you have to get in a coffin. Hopefully you can die now. Recognize the truth and start walking according to it. The people need you today, one another today. The people are crying out for you today. The children are crying out for you today. They don't even know it, but you can look at them and see they are lost. They need you today. They need you today. The world is crying out for you today. How do we get peace? How do we get prosperity for all? How do we get that joy? How do we get that freedom? How do we do it? Who's telling you how to do it? Who's listening? Who's is listening? Somebody would have to be listening, wouldn't it? So who's telling you how to do it and what to do? Is there anyone telling you? Is there anyone listening? Is there anyone pure enough in their hearts to want to know? I believe if there is, and no one is speaking, then the challenge is you. So I'm saying to you, ladies and gentlemen, we have sold out. We're here because we deserve to be here. Let me say one other thing. I'm predicting, I'm not sure if this is true, but it came to me today. They say the earth is getting overpopulated, overly populated. And so something came to me that says it is a result of people living, having a longer life. And they are living longer. But people are still dying. And when they die, they are not qualified to go to the other side of life. So they come back here in this life, maybe where they need to be, where they hated some the most, where they were so prejudiced in. Maybe they were born in that type of a situation so they can experience that situation. And they are coming back. Many are dying, and they're just coming right back to the earth. But people are living longer, so it seems like the earth is getting crowded. See, the people that are dying are not going to the flip side. They're not going over where love and the expression of heaven on earth, they're not going to that dimension or that side of the coin. They're coming right back on earth. So, ladies and gentlemen, those of you, think about that. I don't know if this is true or not, but think about it. If you don't deserve to go to heaven, and if you don't deserve to go there, you're not going there. I'm going to tell you, I don't care what somebody's told you. Now, what does it mean, deserving to go to heaven? It basically means, to me, as far as I can see, is that you can be counted on to represent what is right. Now, that don't mean you can't do everything that's right, because you don't know everything that's right. But the things that you do know, to represent that. And you will learn as you go. But commitment is an indication. And what is commitment? It is actually doing. That's what commitment is. And so I don't know what God got for you. I'm not going to try to tell you that he got something in between. I'm going to take you to heaven. I don't know nothing about that. But I have heard that the greatest love is that those who have turned their backs on the selfishness, turned their backs on the fruits of the evil seed, they've turned their backs on it to the extent that evil just don't want to put up with them. Evil just say, get the hell out. And they kill them. Now, what other kind of graduation do you need? What other thing can speak for you except they don't want you over here? You're too good. They don't want you over here. I mean, that speaks for itself. You got your doctorate. So think about that, ladies and gentlemen, because once you get on the right track, the things of this society, when they say things of the society, you know what they're basically talking about. They're talking about what they can do to embarrass you, what they can do to hurt you, separate you from your family, put you in jail. All of these things, say bad things about you, expose things about you that they were sneaking upon and found out about you, and you probably don't want anybody to know. And you bow down to those things. You become a captive by those things. You're not free enough to say to hell with it. I don't care what you say about me. You see, you can only say that when you've forgiven yourself. You can only say that when you understand why that exists and what frees you. When you can do that, you don't give a stank what they say, because you got the spirit of love with you. So I'm saying, ladies and gentlemen, I don't know where you're going to go, but there's a place that says no greater love than those that will lay down their lives. So I just say, the ones who lay down their lives, they going straight where God wants them to be, where he says going to be your reward, where he count on you and you godly. That's where you're going. Now, if you half-stepping around here, half-stepping, scared to die, following a system that will never allow you to live, never really progressing in anything, you ain't causing no trouble. And that's where they want you. A good person not causing any trouble ain't good